Suspended police officer granted bail due to prison threats. Track veteran raised doubts on attack of tourists. And David Arore was sworn in again as Member of Parliament.
This is National EMTV News with Lorraine Genia.
Good evening, thanks for joining us for Wednesday's news. The National Court has granted a 1,000 kina bail on a suspended police officer who was charged for attempted murder. Acting Judge Sally Koget ruled in favour of the applicant, Tony Kande, on the grounds that Kande's life was under threat by other inmates at the Bomana jail. Vasanatayama reports.
On the 8th of January this year, Kande was charged by the committal courts for 3 counts of attempted murder, threatening and perverting the course of justice. On the allegations presented by the complainant's lawyer, the applicant, Tony Kande, was among a group of men whose identities are unknown to this date, traveling in an unmarked vehicle with high-powered rifles and pistols. From the summary of facts, Kande punched a sergeant on his face and threatened him. A firearm was also discharged into a family home. Despite the incident, it was not reported to any police station immediately. Judge Koget ruled that allegations presented are plain. He said there was a lengthy delay in lodging the complaint, even though Kande and the complainant lived together in the same police barracks. The bail application was granted under 11 conditions, the strongest being that the alleged offence was committed in October 2014 and the arrest was made in December 2015. That is approximately 14 months and 16 days. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News.
Veteran Kokoda trekkers Frank Taylor and Charlie Lynn have questioned the story by tourists Matthew Yavain and Michelle Clemens in the Sun newspaper. Taylor and Lynn claimed that the story had too many loose ends and bits not adding up. They say that never in the history of the Kokoda track had a trekker being attacked.
Kokoda Track and Tours owner Frank Taylor and Charlie Lynn of Adventure Kokoda have questioned the report of the Sun on the 2 tourists who were allegedly attacked, stripped naked and raped before escaping their captors. Matthew Yvonne is a failed reality star on the show Shipwrecked, and Charlie Lynn thinks that this was all a publicity stunt.
Because we work out of Sagiri Lodge. I know the people at the Sagiri Lodge, they're my brothers. And they've told me what happened. And those people turned up to trek. They conned the KTA. They lied to them to get a permit. They set off with, they were advised that they didn't have the proper equipment. They ignored that advice. They set off on the trail. They didn't have trekking boots, they had sneakers. They had casual clothing. They had no food or just some noodles. They were going to buy some from the shops along the way. They were heading off into the wet season. They had no guide. They had no map. They hadn't even planned on a sleeping bag. They had no tent. They had no torch. They refused to have a guide. It's my opinion they wanted something to happen so they could sell a story.
The men who share 50 years of knowledge of the Kokoda track say that they both would put their lives in the hands of the tribes that reside along the Kokoda range. Major Charlie Lynn has said that the story given by the couple did not make sense. He explained that at Templeton Point to the village where they were picked up was 15.5 kilometers and would take 6 hours of trekking. Lynn says that if you were to walk barefoot, as claimed in the Sun report, their foot would be bleeding by the time they also reached the village.
Was that couple was robbed and attacked at Templeton's Crossing. That they had all their possessions were stolen, everything. Their shoes were stolen, and they were virtually semi-naked. And they trekked from Templeton's Crossing to Alola semi-naked. Now, I've got every measurement of every step along the Kokoda Trail. That is 15.5 kilometres that they would have walked in bare feet. Now, I've been trekking Kokoda for 25 years, and there's no way that I could trek as an expatriate person along that terrain in bare feet. Their feet would have been absolutely lacerated, and there was no mention of their feet, just one little bandage around a couple of fingers.
Justin Tichenko, Minister for Tourism, said that the incident in itself was sad, but the fact that the couple then decided to tell the son an unrealistic story, branding the people of Koyari as cannibals, was very wrong.
I've heard that a young American woman has been raped on this trek, but it does not help when her boyfriend falsely dramatizes this issue and does not help her as well in the situation that she is in. There is a lot of questions to be asked, a lot of questions that are still not answered.
Adelaide Sirox Kari, National, EMTV News.
Former Justice Minister and Attorney General Kirenga Kua says enforcement procedures of the country must be reviewed and tightened. In an exclusive interview with MTV News, Kua said there must be a follow-through process so perpetrators are punished for the crimes committed. He made these comments following the recent rape incidents in Port Moresby and around the country.
Concerns have been raised on the recent violence and rape incidents in Port Moresby and around the country by community leaders, churches and members of parliament. Former Justice and Attorney General Minister Kirenga Kua is the latest. Kua says a comprehensive process must be followed by police and the arms of justice.
You've got to collect the necessary evidence. The police have to have the skills and the competency to collect the evidence, lay the correct charges and to prosecute it properly.
The senior Yongomul MP and former lawyer said the justice system is stretched, but more effort is needed so perpetrators are punished for their wrongdoings.
There is a big gap between the date of the offense and the outcome of the court proceedings. There is a disconnect. People don't connect the penalty to the offense because of the time lapse in between.
NTD Governor Powers Pacquiao described the rapes in Port Moresby as inhuman. Pacquiao says women must be seen as equal partners in development.
Women and girls working with men, we can achieve a lot for our country and for our people. This is what we should be aspiring for.
Meanwhile, Kua told MTV the justice system must be revamped for people to restore public confidence and trust.
When people escape from without serving their full term in prison, that the victims and the families, they cry foul. They feel like they've not been, their grievances had not been fully compensated.
Kua says if tough penalties are handed down, perpetrators will withdraw from doing such acts. Jack Lepave Jr., National, MTV News.
It has become a daily struggle with accommodation for staff at Keravat Jail in East New Britain Province. Their homes are on the verge of collapsing and many have admitted to buying building materials with their own money to fix rundown houses. The jail administration has reported numerous staff absenteeism from work, spurred by poor living condition. Edwin Fidelis reports.
These pictures show the housing woes that continue to plague staff at the Keravat Jail in East New Britain Province for more than 40 years. Almost all the houses were built in the colonial days. Most of them have been condemned but are still being used. John Aquila, a prison officer, agrees to show me his house that was given to him when he first joined the Correctional Service 2 years ago.
Maintenance, full maintenance.
Mr. Aquila told me he had to buy building materials with his own salary, as the CS maintenance team don't have the necessary building supplies to put his house back into good shape.
300 to 400 kina spending finish, but big flap big flap maintenance side do plywood no fiber roll.
Mr. Aquila's house only shares lights into the rest of the staff houses here, who faces the same problem. Keravat Jail has the capacity to hold only 300 prisoners, but over the years, prisoners transfers from the other 4 New Guinea Islands provinces have pushed the number of inmates to over 500. Kerava Jail Commander Simon Sobaim says he needs at least 200 officers to man the prison, but because of accommodation problem, he has only 84 men looking after 521 prisoners.
We're supposed to have 1:10, but one officer will hold capacity 1 to 20. You see the pressure.
Many officers are required to work longer hours than expected, and with the steady wear and tear on their houses, it is an extra burden. The only help is coming from the East New Britain provincial government to address some of the age-old infrastructure issues at the prison.
We have 21 institutions. 21 institutions, they have a similar problem like Kerava. Our accommodation is very poor.
Numerous calls to the national government to upgrade CS staff's accommodation all over the country have attracted very little response. Edwin Fidelis, National MTV News, Kokoda.
On a brighter note, 8 correctional service cadets will join their counterparts from the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary and the Papua New Guinea Defence Force for the Joint Service College program. The program will be conducted by the Papua New Guinea Defence Force for the duration of 18 months. The cadets are expected to leave at the end of this month.
The orientation of the 8 cadets was held today at the CS Bomana Training College in Port Moresby. It was witnessed by representatives from the 3 disciplinary forces. The cadets were selected through a stringent selection process conducted jointly by the CS and PNGDF. They will be part of a group of other cadets from RPNGC and PNGDF to go through the Joint Service College program. The Joint Service College program was revived after being dormant for over 2 decades. It is part of the government initiative for the 3 disciplinary forces to share knowledge on the various systems to develop their respective human resource. CS Commissioner Michael Waipo wants the best for his cadets. He challenged them to return with flying colours. He says leadership role within the correctional service is lacking. It is now up to the cadets to take on the challenge to fill in the void. Mickey Cavera, National MTV News.
More than 6 tons of food have not been delivered to the drought-stricken Kaboom district due to a shortage of transport funds. Rice bags meant for Diamos LLG have been held in storage at the Provincial Disaster Office, awaiting funding support from the Kaboom district. Areas of Kaboom are among the hardest hit by the drought and the post-drought food shortages spurred by the arrival of rain.
6 tons of rice for the Diamos local level government area in Kaboom have been held here at the Morobe Disaster Centre since the end of 2015. What's preventing the delivery of this lot of relief supplies is the lack of transport funding.
Transport tasol.
The director of the Morobe Provincial Disaster Centre, Charlie Masangi, has been appealing to members of parliament in affected districts like Kaboom to provide adequate funding for logistics. Not all have come in to help.
Cost blown at Chata mi more expensive more low on a Kai mi blog try lo salim consel place. So I'm working sample like a couple of trips with some by cost and cost and by income contact more.
In August, the severity of the drought was realized when parts of the highlands were struck by frost. It triggered a sudden spike in government commitment, funding and relief assistance. However, the relief assistance has come with criticism that the funding and distribution were unfair, inadequate and political in many instances.
This drought has exposed many of the inherent weaknesses in the government service delivery mechanism in many of the districts affected by the drought. The sluggish district administrations have come to the fore as highly ineffective, uncooperative and lacking effective communication.
Ideally, there should be more communication happening between the key agencies of government like NARI, the provincial disaster centres, the districts and non-government organisations, but that's not happening in many cases.
All on agency blow government plenty me plan work good one them sample you know what probably only got on all one regions blow which me don't have long but yes me plan must like improve more yet this me plan need lo one coordinate one time work good one time lo all kind all one bagara possibly come up.
In Morobe, the biggest problem faced by the Provincial Disaster Centre is the cost of transportation. In 2015, the provincial government provided 1 million kina for the drought relief work. Half that money has gone to pay for freight to rural areas. Scott Wide, National MTV News, Ley.
And still to come in the news, David Arore sworn in as Ijivitari MP. Ben Micah takes up Petroleum and Energy Ministry and a dedication service for the SME sector. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. David Arore was sworn in today at Parliament House as member for Ijivitari. After being ousted from his seat in 2012 through an election petition by John Warrison on counts of bribery, Arore made a huge comeback in the by-elections last month. Although looking forward to resume duties, Arore was not happy with the effect the election petition had on his people's welfare while he was out of office.
I, David Arore,
do promise. Now officially sworn in as the member of Ijivitari, Arore said he had been crippled by the election petition. He was disappointed in that the time wasted in the election petition process left him with less than a year to deliver any significant service to his people.
I had to tell the voters at that time that what can you achieve in 1 year? In reality, it's only about 8 months because the accounts open in March. And by December, at the end of this year, the accounts close. And the accounts don't open until March 2017. That's when you meet the next election. So actually, it's about 8 months of delivery. And so what can you deliver in 8 months? So I will be pushing on the floor of Parliament for strong laws on this issue of election petitions.
He said it saddened him that while the government was battling what now seems to have been a pointless election petition, his people were neglected throughout the drought. Now that he had retained his seat, Arore swore he would push for amendments to be made to the election petition process in the next parliament sitting. He said it not only affected him, but violated the rights and well-being of the Ijivitari people.
Serious amendments have to be looked at this issue on election petitions. Because yes, we acknowledge and we accept that it is the rights of the candidate to take it to court. But what about the rights of the voters? Are they not individuals? And do they not have the right that their vote has been questioned? And it's worse when the same number vote you again that was disputed. I only got an increase in 100 votes only. From 2012 election, I just got 100 plus votes in this by-election.
Meanwhile, having ran for the elections under the PNC party, Arore swore to stand by the O'Neill-Dion government till the 2017 national elections for being the only government who stood by their commitment to the Oro people.
I remain with Peter O'Neill until 2017. I want to make that assurance to Peter O'Neill and to PNC party.
Melissa Goviro, National EMTV News.
Newly appointed Petroleum and Energy Minister Ben Micah says his focus will be the outstanding landowner issues. Minister Micah said a constructive approach will be taken to solve the increasing landowner concerns. He revealed these during the formal handover ceremony with outgoing Minister Nixon Duban.
Formal handover ceremonies continue with the recent changes in ministerial portfolios by Prime Minister Peter O'Neill. This morning at the Crown Plaza Hotel, outgoing Petroleum and Energy Minister Nixon Duban handed over a progressive report to incoming Minister Ben Micah.
Now formally, although it has been gazetted, I formally hand over.
Minister Micah said all other major projects can be developed, but landowner issues must be addressed at first.
Landowners will be a priority area, Minister. Me no busy on one can project. Mr. Tim Pastem, all that outstanding issue.
Micah says other major focus will be settling in place stringent policies for PNG's energy sector.
There's nothing that needs to generate power that we don't have. So energy is going to be the most important thing.
Outgoing Minister Nixon Duban said the sector is challenging but believes Micah will be instrumental in taking the ministry forward.
Whether we are given a senior ministry or a junior ministry, doesn't matter. You have to commit yourself to working for Papua New Guinea. And that's the commitment that I want to take to the new ministry. And I want to leave that same commitment to Minister Micah to work with him in any areas that you require our help. And we will continue to support our government.
The ceremony was witnessed by senior public servants and government bureaucrats from both the private and public sector. Meanwhile, Minister Duban said the 90 million kina for landowners in the PNG LNG project is safe and will be paid, awaiting court proceedings over clan vetting matters.
Once those issues are resolved, those development levels amounting to about 90 million plus will be made available to the landowners. They are parked in the central bank and it's secured and safe.
Jack Lapave Jr., National EMTV News.
And now looking at our finance news, the kina closed unchanged at $0.3315 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.3240 $0.4655 Australian dollars, $0.2937 euro and 37.82 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold, coffee, cocoa closed higher, while copra closed the day lower, and crude oil closed lower, while palm oil and copper closed the day higher. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 73 points lower, the ASX closed at 67 points lower, and the All Ordinaries closed at 69 points higher. National EMTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching National EMTV News. Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology Minister Malakai Tabar said the tertiary selection process needs to be amended in order to perfect the selection process. Minister Tabar said this after allegations surfaced that the 2016 selection process was flawed. Eric Harupma with this report.
Minister for Higher Education, Science, Research and Technology Malakai Tabar says the tertiary selection process is a free, fair and transparent process without political influences. He said this in a media conference in Port Moresby in response to criticism received of an alleged flawed selection process this year.
And this department will consult with universities and institutions of higher education to identify initiatives that ease the administrative burden and increase equity for students.
He said the Department of Higher Education, Science, Research and Technology, through its revised mandate under the Higher Education provisions, will conduct a systematic review of the 2016 tertiary selection process. The Revised Education Act 2004 provides to safeguard and enhance the clarity, efficiency, effectiveness and integrity of this process. Department Secretary Professor David Kavanamur said scholarships are awarded to students based on merits and quotas selected is according to the choice preferences and space capacity of institutions.
Orienting the sector so that the GPA entry requirement for freshmen into universities is back to where it was at 1.6. For this year, it was raised to 2.3, but it will go because it was mainly driven by government scholarship, and that scholarship is on the decline. So we will open it up, drive it back to 1.6.
He distinguished that selections are made according to the results provided by the respective tertiary institutions, nor the Department of Education. Meanwhile, Minister Tabar said an independent audit committee will be appointed to carry out investigations into this matter. Eric Arupma, National EMTV News.
Jiwaka is the first province to have a provincial police standing orders. Since the amended constabulary standing orders came into effect in 2013, Jiwaka's provincial police commander is the first to initiate this document. The provincial police standing order was launched in Minj Police Station this afternoon. Assistant Commissioner of Police, Eastern Command Nema Mondia, launched the document today. Jiwaka PPC Chief Superintendent Joseph Tondop said this document was drawn taking into consideration what is applicable to Jiwaka.
Commanders look around, look at this like a book all. Now don't demonstrate. These are the do's, these are the don'ts. This is something you're making. Everybody you got this like consequences. You walk in this law, you walk in book straight, everybody got this like reward for you. You have no discipline. Every police commissioner law giving me direction, I'm giving direction police. Now what police commanders now law implementing. So make it now talk clear ourselves.
The Kokopo Fire Service has raised concerns on their capacity to respond to fire emergencies in East New Britain Province. Firefighters say they will need a well-equipped fire station to cater to East New Britain's needs. Kokoda's Fire Brigade is the only station providing emergency services for the entire province.
At the Kokoda PNG fire station, 3 fire trucks are parked idle, awaiting maintenance for more than 10 years. The only equipment that is operational is this fire truck. The fire station has to be relocated from the devastated town of Rugby to Kokoda after the 1994 volcano eruption, and over the last 20 years, its operations have never been beefed up. The head of the fire brigade, Superintendent Nason Palnava, said the station needs an overhaul maintenance to its ailing equipment so that it boosts their capability to respond swiftly to emergencies all over the province.
I think right now we have only one appliance which is operational, and also for the distance and the road condition. But otherwise for manpower, we have the manpower.
In the heart of Kokoda town, new structures are being built. Businesses are growing never like before. The general sentiment is that when Kokoda town develops into a city, the fire station has to be upgraded so that it adequately caters to the emergency need of the province.
But only for Kokoda, because we had only one truck. It's really hard for us for the distance like Drought, Rugby and Barangoi, which we usually respond to any fire emergency.
The story here is no different to the rest of the other emergency services that are being provided elsewhere in the country. The PNG Fire Service capabilities and immediate response to an event of a fire have so far been widely criticized, but ailing equipment has been the main hindrance to their work. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Kokoda.
Acting Justice Sally Koget has adjourned the bail decision for probationary constable Pedro Baiba to tomorrow morning. After listening to submissions by both Baiba's lawyer and lawyer representing the state, Justice Koget described the submissions as serious and adjourned the case. The bail application was made on the grounds that the circumstances surrounding the alleged armed robbery against Baiba did not connect him to the offence. However, a lawyer representing the state objected, stating that Baiba was alleged to have been involved in 2 other criminal offences and had displayed violent acts. Baiba was taken back to Bomana Correctional Service and will return to the National Court tomorrow. Turning overseas now, Valdivia in southern Chile witnessed an extraordinary performance by over 200 acrobats and a theatre group on Saturday the 16th of January. The inaugural event featured spectacular acrobatic performances to a crowd of about 50,000 people. The event marked the inauguration of the naming of Valdivia as the American Capital of Culture 2016.
Members of the Catalan theatre company La Fura dels Bosch performed in a high-flying acrobatic event with about 200 local and regional acrobats and musicians, opening a special year for Valdivia. The performance was a tribute to the brotherhood between man and nature.
I found it was a chance for people to get together and get to know something culturally new, and from this art shows that we usually don't see here. So the fact that they've done it in this public space and that it's free, it's something that's much more accessible to the people.
An orchestra composed of the Philharmonic of the region of Los Rios, the Chamber Orchestra of Valdivia and the choir of the Universidad Austral de Chile collaborated to perform an accompanying interpretation of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. La Fura dels Bosch, whose name means the foray from Els Bosch, is a street art and theatre performance troupe founded in Barcelona in 1979. Well known for breaking the wall between spectacle and spectators, they often incorporate the participation of local acrobats, dancers and other artists into their performances. The group produced the opening ceremony of the 1992 Barcelona Olympic Games. Lorraine Gabina, EMTV World News.
And Trukai Sports is up next, a preview on the Hunters versus Panthers game and developing NRL in Papua New Guinea. I'll be back with the details.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. The Penrith Panthers team will send some of their players to take on the PNG Hunters on the 6th of February at the National Football Stadium in Port Moresby. While an exciting Panther side goes to battle in the Auckland Nines, a second star-studded team will be in Port Moresby.
February 6, 2016 will mark the opening of the National Football Stadium, with the first match to be played between the Panthers and Hunters. PNG Hunters chairman Graham Osborne thanked the government for giving the Hunters the opportunity to officially open the stadium.
So we're looking forward to coming here on the 6th of February and bringing our team, and hopefully the Penrith people are going to bring their good team as well. And we're going to have a very, very great occasion here and celebrate Rugby League in Papua New Guinea at the opening of this wonderful stadium. And I want to thank Arore and also Doctor and Leon for giving us the opportunity to come.
On the same weekend, in New Zealand, 18 of their Panthers teammates will strive for success at the annual Nines tournament. Panthers coach Anthony Griffin ensured the club's talent is shared between the squad, boasting a combination of youth and experience. Over the next 4 days, the full squad lists for both the PNG Hunters showdown and the Auckland Nines will be released. Jamie Soward, Wellington Albert and Josh Hall are a few Panthers players that will take on the Hunters. Elijah Levitt, National EMTV Sports.
And Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. NRL Australia conducted an open session training program for PNG NRL staff today, led by Games Development Officer Brian Rowe from Australia. Among the participants is a young woman who started off with PNG NRL as a driver and is now a leading development officer. The week-long workshop is aimed at developing rugby league in the country.
NRL Australia conducted an open training session today at the Holiday Inn Hotel in Port Moresby. NRL Australia's Game Development Officer Brian Rowe believes that by educating the PNG NRL staff, they will be able to deliver rugby league and game development activities within their respective communities.
We have programs targeted at disability programs as well, so it's for the whole community, and it's really important that we deliver, as I said, at the highest standard. So we're over here, we're just practicing some of the drills that we do in Australia, so to make sure that we're all on the same page.
In accordance with the popular League Belong Life program, which acts as a tool to support education outcomes, PNG NRL leading development officers of this program felt the workshop would help enhance the knowledge on rugby league, which will in turn benefit their participating LBL students.
Having us down here in Port Moresby for the conference, it's the first time ever for NRL to have a rollout in Bougainville, and having us to be as part of the conference team this year.
Being a rugby player herself, another LDO, Rutha Meu Omenefa, is delighted at the opportunity to add depth to her development program in Goroka.
I started when Makman was looking for a driver, and I was on my break in my previous job, and I walked into his office, drove the development officers around to the schools, and being a rugby player, the skills were just normal. I helped the officers with the programs, demonstrating the skills to the students and all that, and I became involved. I became as a volunteer. So that was back in 2015, beginning of 2015. So when there was an opportunity up in Goroka, I took it, and
The NRL Game Development Training Session will run for a week, in which all PNG NRL staff are required to participate throughout the duration of the program. Jaylee Sapies, National EMTV Sports.
Heading overseas now, the first major Grand Slam tournament of the year, the Australian Open, is well underway in Melbourne, Victoria. Chinese qualifier Zhang Shuai knocks second seed Simona Halep out of the Australian Open, while Leighton Hewitt and Stan Wawrinka advance in the men's singles. And Rafael Nadal has suffered a shock defeat, seeing him bow out of the Australian Open.
The former world #1, Rafael Nadal, is out of the Australian Open after being defeated by Fernando Verdasco in the first round. Nadal went down in 5 sets at the Rod Laver Arena. Second seed Simona Halep was knocked out of the first round of the Australian Open as well by Chinese qualifier Zhang Shuai yesterday, going down 6-4, 6-3 to the inspired world number 133. In his last Australian Open, an emotional Leighton Hewitt made it through to the second round in the men's singles, the 34-year-old Australian beating compatriot James Duckworth 7-6, 6-2, 6-4. French Open champion Stan Wawrinka shook off a stubborn early challenge from Dmitry Tursunov to advance to the second round when his Russian opponent retired injured. The 2014 Melbourne Park champion then pulled away to a 3-0 lead in the second set before Tursunov sought treatment on his painful hip, and when the fourth-seeded Wawrinka sealed the second set, the Russian retired. Dion Kombang, National EMTV Sports.
Former FIFA president Sepp Blatter, who was banned for 8 years from the game, is still receiving his president's salary from World Soccer's governing body. According to a spokesman for FIFA, Blatter will continue to get paid till a new president is elected. This means Blatter is being paid for 5 months in which he is unable to carry out his duties.
Sepp Blatter was suspended for 90 days by FIFA on October 8, 2015 and then banned from the game for 8 years last month for ethics violations over a $2 million payment FIFA made to European soccer boss Michael Platini with Blatter's approval in 2011. Despite his ban, Swiss national Blatter will continue to receive the president's salary till the end of next month when a new president is expected to be elected. A spokesman for FIFA, Bentel, said according to Blatter's contract, FIFA could only stop his bonuses but not his president's salary. Until the election of a new president on February 26, Mr. Blatter is the elected president and therefore, according to his contract, is entitled to receive his remuneration, Bentel said. Only last week, FIFA announced that Jerome Valcke was fired from his position as General Secretary. It gave no reason, but an investigation had followed allegations of corruption related to World Cup ticket sales. FIFA is facing the worst corruption crisis in history, with a total of 14 entities being charged for corruption-related offenses. Jaylee Sapius, National EMTV Sports.
Filipino world champion professional boxer Manny Pacquiao is almost ready to retire. But before that, he will face the two-time WBO welterweight champion Timothy Bradley. Manny Pacquiao says he will be both happy and sad to hang up his gloves after this fight against pound-for-pound American rival.
Pacquiao, an 8-time world champion, and Bradley, a 5-time world champion, each promised that things would be different this time as they stared down each other. In Beverly Hills, California, during a media luncheon, it was announced that they'll meet in a 12-round welterweight championship fight, set for April 9 in Las Vegas.
I'm so happy hanging my gloves after this fight because of what I have done. You know, I'm sure I will feel sad after that, but you know, that's life. Not all the time you're keep on fighting. Not in the time all the time is you're in the ring, but it's time, I think.
Who in some ways must be motivated to try and erase the memory of his loss to Floyd Mayweather in what many saw as a very boring fight. Bradley, who has defeated 12 world champions over his illustrious career, including Manny Pacquiao, is confident coming off a strong performance under his new trainer Teddy Atlas. Also is looking forward to lots of action.
We're super confident. We're super confident going into this third fight. Knowing what I know, been 24 rounds with him, knowing Manny Pacquiao, he's not King Kong. It's just, I feel that honestly that this is my time. I'm gonna win this fight April 9th.
For Pacquiao, The future Hall of Famer, who brings a record of 57-6-2 into the bout, feels that the timing is right to end his career after a trilogy with Bradley.
It's going to be different because I believe that we can create more action in this time around compared to the last two fights that we had, because we know and we saw that in his last fight he improved a lot in his style.
Freddie Rhodes, Pacquiao's longtime trainer, feels the same way.
I'm really excited about this fight. I think it's going to be a great fight. I'm looking forward to Manny Pacquiao's retirement fight and Manny going on to become president of his country. And, you know, I think Manny Pacquiao is the greatest fighter of his decade, of his era.
Bradley's trainer Teddy Atlas said part of the interest is to get an opportunity to see a great fighter for the last time.
And an opportunity to see a great fighter in Timothy Bradley show against that fighter how great he is and what his place is. We look forward to it. We look forward to the challenge, and it's a tremendous challenge.
In the meantime, Pacquiao has an 8-week training camp to get ready for Timothy Bradley. Shane Arore, National EMTV Sports.
That ends Trukai Sports. The weather details when we come back.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region. All centres expecting fine weather. In the Momase region, mostly fine in Lae and fine for Madang, Wewak and Vanimo. Fine in Lorengau, Kokopo, Rabaul and Buka, and mostly fine in Kavieng and Kimbe in the New Guinea Islands. And lastly, in the Highlands region, cloudy for all centres. Your forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours, waters of southern PNG, Indonesian border through Torres Strait, and Daru to Kiwai Island, to Kerema to Yule Island, to Hood Point to Samurai Island, seas of 0.5 to 1.5 metres. Waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands with waters of Samurai Island to Cape Vogel to Finchafen, with waters of Finchafen including Vitiaz Strait, CRC Islands to Long Island, with waters west of Long Island to Madang, to Bogia, to Wewak, to Aitape, to Vanimo and northern PNG Indonesian border, with waters of Manus and its western group of islands, and with waters of New Ireland to New Britain and Bougainville, seas of 0.5 to 1.3 metres. And now looking at your ocean forecast for PNG areas, seas slight to moderate with southeast winds at 10 to 20 knots for the Coral Sea. In the Solomon Seas, seas slight with southeast to southwest winds at 10 to 15 knots. In the Bismarck Sea, seas slight with northwest winds at 10 to 15 knots. And in the Pacific Ocean, seas slight with northeast to northwest winds at 10 to 15 knots. Now recapping our main stories for tonight. Suspended police officer granted bail due to prison threats. Track veteran raised doubts on attack of tourists. And David Arore was sworn in again as Member of Parliament. And that's the news, sports and weather for tonight, Wednesday the 20th of January 2016. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Lorraine Genya. Pleasant viewing. Good night.